Hi everybody, welcome to Afterburner. I'm Bill Whittle. It's the summer of year 6 of the Obama administration, so how stands the shining city on the hill? Well, the southern border has collapsed. The entire sovereignty of the United States, what makes a nation, is just about to dissolve as it becomes clear to Mexico, Central America, South America, and in fact the entire world, that if their people can only get inside our borders, then this administration will make sure that they never have to leave, not ever. There are threatening signs, still just pips in the static, but the beginning of signals and a background noise, of a series of worldwide epidemics. Alarming cases of infectious diseases are on the rise, not the least of which is the Ebola virus, perhaps the most horrible disease in the world today. How safe are we in the age of intercontinental jet travel? Well, no one knows, but the signs are not good. Deadly diseases are arriving on American shores. Russia, resurgent under former KGB chief murderer Vladimir Putin, is repeating the same kind of incremental testing that Adolf Hitler mastered against the weaklings in the West. Hitler marched into the Rhineland, and the West did nothing. Putin starts a small war in the Crimea, and the West does nothing. Hitler overruns Czechoslovakia, and the West does nothing. Putin shoots down a civilian jetliner, and the West does nothing. The most powerful defensive force in the history of the world is useless if it's not applied. And the nation's crumbling infrastructure, we never refer to it as the nation's infrastructure anymore, it's always the nation's crumbling infrastructure, continues to crumble. The $800 billion stimulus package, remember that? Was supposed to address a lot of that crumbling, but it was soon discovered, and I'm not making this up because I don't have this kind of imagination, that spending money on repairing the nation's crumbling infrastructure meant that most of that money was going to go to engineers and construction workers. In other words, men. Now that, of course, would be part of the war on women. So a great deal of that money was diverted to feminist studies and cultural centers and all the rest. Just the electrical grid, just that, is at critical risk to EMP attack, solar flares, or even getting shot up with assault rifles, as happened a while ago up near San Francisco in the terrorist attack that you never heard of because it was so simple and so very nearly catastrophic. So here we are. And as the failures continue to mount and this president's failures become more apparent, people are starting to ask, is the country ungovernable? The country's not ungovernable. The government is ungovernable. It's too big. It's too expensive. It's too corrupt, too unresponsive, too fossilized, too irresponsible. And did I mention it's too big? That's why the Democrats rush daily to make it bigger. So it's obvious that the government is incapable of doing the things it's supposed to do: protect the borders, fight diseases, stop aggressors, and keep the lights on. It just isn't working. Therefore, I have a suggestion. Let the Mormons do it. I was in Salt Lake City as a guest of a Mormon university in 2009. I saw them supplying food to needy people all over the world. I saw them taking homeless people, giving them job training, and surrounding them with caring, successful people. I met many 20-year-old Mormon kids. They're not actually kids, they're more adult than I am, who had already done 2 years of missionary work, had $200,000 in the bank in savings, and a year's supply of food down in the basement. And even then I thought, this is what a government is supposed to do. Be prepared, be frugal, be efficient, and get it done effectively and without publicity. It was magnificent. So, if you want to solve all of our nation's problems, let the Mormons do it. Now, of course, this isn't an ad for Mormonism. If you don't like the Mormons and you still want these things actually fixed, then let the Jews do it. They're very well-educated, hard-working, responsible, decent people, almost without exception. Just turn these problems over to the Jews, make it their responsibility, give them a fraction of the funds we're currently spending, and it will get fixed, and quickly. Now, of course, you might be one of those people that think that the Jews are secretly running everything anyway, and the entire idea of turning our problems over to the Jews to solve is anathema to you. Fair enough? You know what? Let the Irish do it. Make these problems the responsibility of Irish Americans, and we'll get it done. We'll have fun doing it too. Now, on the other hand, if the whole idea of nationalities or cultures being responsible for these problems bothers you, then let the Gators do it. Give all of these problems to the University of Florida, make it their responsibility, and in a year, these problems will be fixed and the football team can finally have a university that they can be proud of. Or, let show business, you know what, on second thought, don't ever put actors in charge of anything. Or you could let this guy do it. This is Pierre Sprey. He's one of the most important patriots you've never heard of. He was a member of John Boyd's fighter mafia at the Pentagon in the 1970s. He was part of the team that made the incredible F-15 and F-16 fighters possible. He was also a guiding light for the remarkable A-10 Warthog, perhaps the most perfect marriage of machine and mission in aviation history. All you need to know about what's wrong with the government you can get from listening to Pierre Sprey talk about the F-35 program. The F-35 was sold as a one gold-plated size-fits-all solution for the next 40 years, but that meant a standard model for the Air Force, a vertical takeoff variant for the Marines, a beefed-up carrier-capable version for the Navy, and so on. But since it's all one airframe, the fan needed for the Marines' vertical takeoff meant a very wide fuselage. For that wide body to fit on a carrier deck meant it had to have a small wing. A small wing means it's useless as a dogfighter. Stealth requires weapons to be carried internally, which means essentially no ordnance load, which means it's useless as a fighter bomber. Its small wing means it has to fly fast, which means it can't pick out targets easily on the ground. And its thirsty engines means it can't loiter over the battlefield like the A-10 could, which means it's useless in ground support as well. So, forget teething problems. This has nothing to do with teething problems. Inherent in its design is the fact that it's useless in air-to-air dogfights, it's useless as a fighter bomber, and it's useless in close air support. So
what is the point of this plane?
The point is to spend money. That is the mission of the airplane, is for the U.S. Congress to send money to Lockheed. That's the real mission of the airplane.
The purpose of the F-35 program, he says, is to spend money. Period. That's all you need to know. The purpose of the federal government is no longer to secure the border, fight diseases, deter aggression, and keep the roads and electricity in order. The purpose of the federal government is to spend money. The purpose of the federal government is to take the fruit of your work through taxes and hand that wealth over to politicians, bureaucrats, unions, and voting blocs that ensure that the federal government can continue to grow and do more of the same. And until somebody, the Mormons, the Jews, the Irish, the Gators, somebody owns these problems, we're going to continue to skate until the ice shatters beneath our feet.